Hello everyone, how you going, and welcome to What is Going On with Canadian Soccer. Now, I know historically that Canada hasn't had the greatest soccer team in the world, but in recent years they've also made some incredible maneuvers and decisions, so let's just see what is going on with Canadian soccer.
Canadian soccer right now is in absolute shambles. The self-proclaimed but not true kings of CONCACAF have cancelled 2 matches in the last week against Iran and Panama, so not only are they quitters, but also liars.
It doesn't make sense.
I can't believe this has happened.
So what did happen with this Canadian men's national team to have them cancel the Iranian match and then schedule one against Panama and then not show up to play and have to say,
Sorry.
What is going on, Canada? Get it together.
Well then, I certainly didn't expect that. After the last video, I expected that to, well, certainly not be a scathing review. I expected it to be kind of, what is going on with Canada's soccer team? It's incredible what they're doing, not to be going, what is going on here? This just needs to be fixed. But honestly, based on what he was saying, that was incredible. The fact that they had to cancel 2 games in a week, one of which they actually scheduled themselves, and then, like you said, they had to go, oh, sorry, we can't turn up to it. So hopefully he doesn't leave us all hanging and actually explains why they had to do that, because I can only imagine there's a reason, like, is there managerial problems, player problems, or I don't know, even playing problems.
After the Canadian Federation set up a match against Iran, they then cancelled the match because of political pressures from the Canadian government.
Right.
In short notice, they scheduled a match against Panama set to be played on June 5th. The team showed up, the fans showed up, everyone showed up except the Canadian national team. Now, as soon as they refused to play, the men's national team and the women's national team for Canada sent letters to the Canada Soccer Federation.
Fair enough. I mean, wow, the fact that everyone turned up but then there just wasn't a game, you'd be going, what's going on here? Because is half the team or a whole team just standing on the field going, what's going on here? Where's the rest of them? And I mean, I guess in terms of the first one, I can understand how things are going to get very complicated when suddenly there's political pressures involved, and so at least I can understand why that one might have been cancelled. But the second one, I don't even follow the entire story arc.
Now, as soon as they refused to play, the men's national team and the women's national team for Canada sent letters to the Canada Soccer Federation. These letters were addressed to all of Canada, so like 14 people in total, regarding all of their grievances with the Canada Soccer Federation. Let's break down what's going on in the Canadian Federation and why these teams are refusing to play, why they sent these letters asking for some demands in their new contracts, all today on It's Called Soccer.
So like I said, there was a lot more going on. It kind of is political pressures, but just internal political conflict instead of, I guess, international political conflict. But what doesn't make sense to me is, why do they have to take it out on Panama? Why do they have to stage this entire ordeal and just not show up to the game after they scheduled it? I mean, I guess the team didn't schedule it. It most likely comes from the same people you were having problems with, so I guess I understand the leverage, but poor Panama, they're just getting caught in the crossfire. And I guess the worst part is the fact that they didn't just cancel the game on Panama, no, they just completely didn't show up, and so all the fans, everyone that has made their way there, it's completely ripped off. And so to pull a stunt like this, they must be dealing with some fairly serious issues. I mean, I certainly hope so, and it's not just there wasn't enough tea bags in the change room or something like that.
Now, on a basic level, in both of these letters sent, it seems like both Canadian teams, men and women, are asking for enhanced compensation from the Canada Soccer Federation. All of that because they helped to raise the profile of soccer in Canada, especially this year, with the Canadian men's national team winning the CONCACAF group, going to the World Cup. And the women's national team has actually been quite successful over the last decade or so. While the men have only found recent success, the women are asking for an equal slice of the pie, requesting equal pay to the men's squad.
Well, there we go. At least we now have an answer as to why and what was going on here. And the fact that it isn't just one team going, oh, we want this or we want this. It is both teams taking a stand against the entire federation. And so I guess their options are limited in what they can do to go, no, we want this exact thing, federation. Please give this to us. We want this part, this part, this part, whatever it may be. Clearly their voices weren't being heard, and so they just had to use their actions instead. I mean, I am wondering what kind of percentage or what kind of increase are we talking about here? Because let's say it's 1%, 2%, even something like 5%. I'm sure that given the fact that they've had an incredible rise to fame, that put themselves on the world stage, I would be fairly confident that the federation should be able to afford something like that, or the money can come from somewhere. But if they're talking about 100%, 200%, 500%, who knows what, that's when it becomes more difficult, because let's say you're not in the Premier League with the entire world stage on you, you are still in the little box that is Canada, and so there's only so much endorsement and sponsorships and advertising can provide.
This may be one of the first moments that we see downstream impacts of the US Soccer Federation's new agreement with the men and women's team that allows for equal pay between both teams. Now, there's some really interesting tidbits in these letters that the team sent, and especially in the one that the Canadian men's national team sent. It stated the relationship with the Canadian Soccer Federation has been strained for years, and they hope that qualifying and some recent success would alleviate some of the tensions in the relationship.
Oh, there we go. The story and the plot and everything else thickens. The fact that they're saying, oh, look, we've had some problems for years, we've been trying to work on it, we've had communication clearly, and then we've, like I said, they're just not getting hurt, so they went, stuff it. We're just going to not turn up to this game and they can deal with the consequences because it doesn't land on our head. Even this second line that they haven't highlighted, despite the unprecedented success of both the women's and men's national team in 2021-22, we have seen no changes. Where is the progression? Where is the money? And that's what I was just talking about. You know, these are clearly very successful teams, and so if they can go to the entire federation and go, here it is, we've increased the entire, let's say, spectators by tenfold. That means even if the endorsements and everything else, all the other income streams have remained completely stagnant, let's say they can say that, okay, it's 5 times with the salary or the overall budget you now have. And that isn't because you guys are suddenly running ads and doing all this extra stuff. No, that's because we are playing really well and we're just some of the best in the world, and so we want to be compensated correctly. I mean, actually, if we look down here, we've recently learned that in 2018, Canada Soccer signed an agreement with Canadian Soccer Business that has completely compromised their ability to leverage the on-field success of our senior national teams. Oh, who signed that thing? I mean, actually, look at that. They also want to know. We want to know who signed this deal that has handcuffed our association. Oh, whose pockets have been lined by doing that, because it certainly hasn't been the players. And look, even though I imagine things like this happen all over the world with all these different international teams, clearly there is a lot going on here with just this one men's team, let alone what the women's team said.
But further incompetence and secrecy from the Canada Soccer Federation proved that their hopes were wrong. And can I just ask, is there one freaking soccer federation in the entire world that is not corrupt? I mean,
Yeah,
coast to coast in all corners of the world, plus FIFA, which oversees all of these federations, just seems to be money-grubbing people leeching money from the players and fans that need it most to grow the game. The women's side also released a statement that echoed some of the same points, except it included an additional detail about an agreement that they had been asking for since January, and they had only heard new information from the Federation in the last few days. That means on some basic level, it took over 6 months for the Federation just to communicate with the women's team on some of their asks.
Oh, even someone like that, 6 months to just get an answer, not to even finalize the entire agreement or anything like that, just to get any kind of information, and you're waiting 6 months to basically get a yes or no, or just, I don't know, a full stop would have been a reply. It's not like they were saying, oh, we haven't finalized it and it's been 6 months, what's going on here? No, they hadn't heard a peep for 6 months. I mean, it does say that they have been bargaining in good faith, but I don't understand how you can be bargaining in good faith when you're never bargaining in the first place. But there is one line in here that is just confusing me. However, to be clear, the women's national team does not view equal FIFA percentages as between our respective teams as equal pay. It almost sounds like there's a bit of a typo in there, but I don't understand what that even means, because that is the first time, and I think the only time, that FIFA itself as an organization has actually been mentioned. But what does an equal view FIFA percentages mean?
And to the surprise of absolutely nobody, there are no concessions made in this draft from the Canadian Soccer Federation to the women's team. Now, this all centers around a shady agreement between the Canada Soccer Federation and something called Canada Soccer Business.
Yeah.
I mean, what the is that? Come on, that sounds like a very made-up name. That just sounds like the most generic, made-up, fake name in the world. We do business and we do soccer. That's what Canada Business Soccer does.
Yeah, that absolutely sounds like some sort of shady business someone set up just to basically, like I said, line their own pockets. I'm sure it ties into that agreement that we were talking about before. Nothing about the on-field success of the team can be related back to pay and everything else attributed to that. No, it all just goes into Canada Soccer Business. And to be honest, I'm not even sure if it's a surprise to anyone, because like you said, it happens all over the world. FIFA as an organization doesn't have the best track record. And so if you are having the very top of soccer and football just doing all these different dodgy things, then of course it's going to filter down from the top.
But anyways, the agreement was signed between Canada Soccer Federation and Canada Soccer Business on a 10-year deal in 2019 that allowed Canada Soccer Business to represent Canada Soccer Federation in all media and sponsorship deals. But where the players seem to have the most grievances in these letters is that nobody seems to know or understand where the money that the Canada Soccer business is making is going into the Canada Soccer Federation. And the players now want answers. I think that's reasonable.
I think that's pretty reasonable as well, considering they're not from a first standpoint even asking for a raise. They're asking to see how much they can raise it based on the financial situation. And obviously the business as an entity is going to do what the business is kind of meant to do. They're meant and designed to make money. But in a situation like this, they can't completely operate, or you would certainly hope that they can't. And well, I guess then you just get players not turning up to games, but they just can't operate completely unmorally. And for some strange reason, it seems to be the more money a company makes behind people's backs, the more they want to keep their financial situation secret. It's really strange how that works. And so yeah, I can certainly sympathize and certainly understand why the players have had to go to these lengths, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes and they just want some answers as to what's back there.
The letter spells out what the players need in order to play another match. Especially the men's team, they've just canceled their match against Panama, and now they have a Nations League coming up against Curacao on June 9th, only a few days away.
Ooh.
In the letter, the players state, "Going forward, we need transparency and a review of the Canada Soccer Business Agreement, a leadership team that can optimize this moment and generate revenue from corporate sponsorship that should be used to drive the game forward at all levels for years to come. An equitable structure with our women's national team that shares the same player match fees, percentage of prize money earned at our respective FIFA World Cups, and the development of a women's domestic league. World Cup compensation that includes 40% of prize money and a comprehensive friends and family package for the 2022 World Cup. And more former players from the men's, women's, and Paralympic team integrated into leadership positions within Canada Soccer Board and organization."
Like I said, they're certainly not going to like any of these, but it's just starting out with the fact that they're just going to be taking a bit of money from them. Like I said, someone's pockets are being lined, and I can only imagine it's a group of individuals, if not an individual, but the fact that they want a leadership team that can optimize this moment and generate revenue from corporate sponsorships that should be used to drive the game forward, I think that's fairly reasonable and actually very holistic of them, because they clearly recognize that there's a lot more money and revenue coming in because of their actions and because of all their success, but they don't want all of that success. They just want to share it between the grassroots, youth, para, and senior programs. And that is only one of these dot points. They're obviously also asking for transparency. That's fair enough, like we said, but then they also want a restructure of the entire organization and board. And it's not like they're oblivious as well. We want to apologize to our fans. Playing at home with your support is everything to us. They clearly recognize that this and this and this and this makes the entire world go round. And on top of also now having more fans than they previously would have, it's the fact that they are professionals, but they have to love the game as well. It's not like they're going, oh, I hate my job. I mean, maybe sometimes they hate it a little bit when they have to do extra fitness or extra weights or whatever it may be, but the fact is they love playing the game and they cancel what they love to do. As they said down here, it is a great privilege and responsibility to represent and play for our country. They've recognized all the different levels, but they are fed up.
They also signed it off in the most badass way that you possibly could. Wow. And how can you not give them what they want after hearing this? I know John Herdman is behind this somehow. They signed it off. "We are brothers. We fear nothing. We stand on guard." So, my Canadian brothers and sisters that are trying to shine a light on the shady organization of Canada Soccer Business and what they do and where the funds flow through, I stand with you. I stand on guard.
Well, there we go. That sums it up brilliantly, doesn't it? The fact that they're going, no, we're taking our stand and we are not backing down. I mean, this video was uploaded on the 7th, but it is now well past the 7th. And so I wondered, did they end up playing the game on the 9th? Did they get a response that they wanted? Did they get any response at all? I certainly hope so, because otherwise it's looking like a pretty grim situation. I don't know what they would do in that situation if the FIFA organization just goes, no, and back off. Because then they would be put in a sticky situation where they're going, well, I love what I do. I want to continue to do it, but I don't want to continue to do it how you want me to continue to do it, and so you guys have to go, please, but I don't make that rule. I've just searched up the Canadian soccer team 9th of June because I wanted to see if there was a big, 5-3 or I don't know, 1-0, whatever it may be, but I'm not seeing any of that. I'm seeing a lot of pay dispute, Canada, and everything else are involved. Oh, actually, what is it going to be? Oh, actually, so they did play. It was 4-0. Well, actually, it wasn't too far off from my guess, but yeah, 4-0. At least, I guess the game got played, so at least from a fan's perspective, they got that, but I would love to know what, if anything, even got fixed, because I can only imagine in a few days, based on when he uploaded, not much would have got fixed. And so yeah, this was a great video. Obviously, we've just seen them go from the last video that I watched. They were just heralded, they were the kings, they were undefeated, they had all these things, and then all of a sudden, not because of their own situation, it's not like they're suddenly broken legs and everyone's out of the team or something like that. No, they are still obviously playing incredible soccer. Well, they're not playing, that's the whole problem. And yes, that decision does rest on their heads because they're the ones choosing not to turn up, but it's a decision decision that they are not making lightly. It's just basically made out of hopelessness in a way. And so I hope for everyone's sake, be it the women's team, the men's team, the fans, whoever it may be that has just been kind of being caught in the crossfire here, I hope for everyone involved it can just be resolved in a positive way. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to do the YouTube algorithm things down below. Also, if this is the first video of mine that you're watching, then make sure to go check out any other ones I've done out. Also, make sure to go check out the original video down in the description below, or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.